7 years ago. We have over 700 episodes. It's our story of starting from nothing, being laid off from other business owners, architects who are really bad at business, and we're positive reactionaries to that, and trying to share and spread the message to my generation, millennial, Gen X, Gen Z, that like the American dream is still alive.
Hard Hat the CEO. Yes, another episode. And today we have a guest all the way from Denver. And as I'm looking at my notes, it'd be easier to say what he doesn't do compared to what he does do because it's a long list. But being a CEO is the best part of my day, and being able to do what you need to do and enjoy and help others. So please help me welcome Lance Cayko. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic today, Chris. Thank you for asking. I'm fully caffeinated, ready to go.
All right. Now, I didn't mention Lance is an architect by trade and a construction worker. You've been in construction for many years. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Yeah. I'm a builder as well. General Class B license here in Colorado in a couple different jurisdictions. We do very high-end homes, lower-end homes, middle homes, multifamily stuff, and we're actually on the verge of starting 4 restaurants over the course of the summer and diving into a lot more commercial work. I'm a real estate developer as well, from time to time. A podcaster, obviously, like yourself, professional fisherman, sometimes a professor, philanthropist, a lot of things. A dad still to my wonderful children, and I'm happy to be here.
For my guys that are residential contractors, what's the difference going into commercial side?
It's a lot more cutthroat. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. Oh, absolutely. It's a lot more cutthroat for sure. You know, on the high-end residential stuff, those are such amazing clients because it's not that the budget is unlimited for sure, but the end goal is different. We're trying to create a forever home, something that's very special. It's obviously super custom. And so our ability to it's not as difficult of a process or uphill battle for us to convince clients of using higher grade materials, higher grade finishes, spending a little bit more money even on like framing, for example. One of the houses that we're building right now is it's got about a $3 million budget, and which is pretty big, and it's got this 40-foot tall turret. It's like a circular silo essentially,
Yeah.
and it was not difficult at all for me to convince the client, if we spend another 5,000 in just more LVLs to frame this, we're going to have a better circle. It's going to be less faceted. It's going to have less segments on it. It's going to look more circular. Stuff like that is, I think, one of the biggest differences. And commercial is just, specifically in some of these restaurants that we're doing, the restaurateurs are fantastic, but they obviously have their budget is much different and their end goal is much different. Is like they're trying to make sure they can't overspend. They need to be within reason because they have a bottom line to meet at
Hmm.
all times, right?
Yeah.
And if they overspend right away, they're already putting themselves in such dire shape that maybe the business will fail in the first couple months, right? Which is really difficult. So that's usually what we're up against. And even for our custom stuff too, back to that, the residential thing, single family, and that version is I get to pick. It's easier for me to pitch my preferred selector subcontractors because I make the pitch to the clients of, we can do a low, medium, high bid. We can bid it out to 3 different electricians. But at the end of the day, for a project like this, we really need a medium or a higher bidder because we don't want to shortcut at all on your custom home that's going to go forever, right? And I'm not saying it gets shortcutted in the commercial side. It's just that the equation is different and the end goal is different. So I think that's for me the biggest thing that I've learned in that process. It's a little bit meaner too on the
Yeah.
commercial side.
I want to say a statement. It's more of a generic statement, but I know you're trying to overcome it. So, in my mind, architects are taking ideas from people's heads and putting it on paper. The engineers take those drawings and make them safe and doable. And then it's the responsibility of the contractor to make it happen and figure out how to make it happen. And I
Mhm.
know that you're trying to get where the architect and everybody comes together, right, and communicates better. What's the process look like for that?
Oh yeah. Well, we're architects first and foremost, and I tell this to all potential clients who I just got a call last night from a gentleman who's looking to do a new custom house in Boulder County, and which is right in our backyard. And I explained to them how it all works with us, and I say, look, you can hire us no matter what. We'll be your architect first, but we're an architect plus build. It's like design plus build. It's not design and we're not including it all in one. And so no matter what, even if we just end up being your architect, we're going to bring all of our construction knowledge into the architectural drawings. And that already differentiates us from your average architect who's only drawing, never picked up a hammer. I like to make a joke a lot to these architects, like when they try to get macho with me online or even in person, and I'm like, I bet you can barely hold a hammer. Like I bet you can barely pick up a hammer. And they get a little gruff about it and stuff like that, but they get my point. We're bringing something different to the table. What the exact process looks like is it usually starts about halfway through the design process, and they've got our clients. Those clients that we end up going the plus build for need to meet 3 criteria. For us specifically, we have to like them, they have to like us, and that's why we got to get about halfway through that.
That's a good start.
Oh my gosh, it's huge, right? Because
Yeah.
because I tell them, we got to get about halfway through that process to see what it's like to work together when we don't disagree and when we need to come to some agreement. What's our relationship like? Because we're going to extend our relationship if we end up building for you by probably at least another 2 years. There's going to be the year to build the house, for example, and then there's a warranty period by state law and just by typical home builder standards you provide to homeowners.
Sure.
So now we're extended for it's like 3 years. So we're going to be married for a little bit here. The second one is they got to be within the 30 to 45 minute radius of our Northern Colorado office. And because you got to be, what it's like. There's fires, man, literal sometimes. They got to go put out.
Yep.
And the third one is they got to be cash. Not that we're skirting the IRS, but like I don't want to deal with the Wells Fargo. So we're kind of spoiled. I am anyway as a builder in that way, but it's because the sales funnel comes through the architecture company.
Now you're in the market where cash is available. I'm not saying it, in some communities it's not, where they have to go through loans. I do a lot of first-time homeowners, but I understand the process. I understand that. I'm used to working with the Wells Fargos, unfortunately, but I can help those. But it's all type of how you're going to deal with that client and how you're going to set up your business. How do you ensure the seamless transition between let's say not your company, but another contractor coming in?
Oh, that I can't ever ensure, right? Because they're going to interpret. Then that's sort of the rub, and then also the pitch back to the owners is they understand. That's really why I'm finding a lot of folks are really seeking out a white glove service like us that can provide that, because then they're like, oh, somebody else isn't going to have to reinterpret those drawings. Now, the architect's the builder. I mean, there's a lot of times, I'm sitting in our office that we designed, built, and developed. Our shop is right behind me. You can see the garage doors if you're watching on YouTube or any other place like that. I was out with my tool bags on for the whole project, going fully back in the blue collar world, but still had my laptop. I was able to pull measurements for my framers. It made it so that this very angular, super modern building that we ended up building was almost a spec house for them in terms of simplicity, because of the information we can give them, which that's no fault of the other general contractors. It's just, well, they're not architects and that sort of thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's how I can't actually get to that seamless transition. I think the one big bridge that happens, and we try to advocate for a lot more often now than we maybe had in the past, and it's probably because we're attracting better clients with better budgets, just as the architects. And that is, there's a builder. His name is Brian Tinker Homes. He's done our best houses that we haven't built, that we're just designing. And for those, I'm always recommending that he puts in a line item for us. Can you put in a line item for construction administration, so that when you come in and need your RFIs, you just feel like you can freely talk to us. and there's not this big argument with him and the owner about why is this line item, why am I getting a surprise bill for the architect having to clarify things. And if we're all on the same page from the beginning, forming that really nice owner architect contractor triangle, that traditional triangle, that's the bridge that I think helps make it as seamless as possible, and to where we're basically doing a lot more extra drawings at the end, as we start framing and foundations and everything, basically shop drawings. And they're marking up our drawings, they're asking for this dimension, that dimension, and that sort of thing, and then it becomes a really beautiful relationship.
Now here in Missouri, I've run into this a couple times to that I have to have an engineering stamp. You all have those requirements there?
Well, we are mini California at this point in Colorado. So when you go to design and build a custom house in the state of Colorado, it doesn't matter if you're in a red part of the state or a blue part of the state anymore. The entire book is going to get thrown at you. And at this point, you're probably looking at hiring almost every design professional that is needed on a commercial building for a residential building. Fully stamped drawings from architects, fully stamped drawings from mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, structural engineers, civil engineers, landscape architect. If it's in a historic district in Denver, you're going to have to go through the landmarks process. And now all of a sudden, you're looking at, if you're thinking about doing this, you better be planning for whatever your construction budget is likely going to be. 5 to 10% of that needs to be allocated for your design team. And that's just where we're at in Colorado. And I don't know if there's any unwinding it. I'm 42 and I've never seen bills or laws repealed. They just keep layering. Yep, they just keep layering on until they break the system, and then that's sort of the version of repealing.
Some of the statements, I don't mean it to be overall, but sometimes when you have high-end clients like yours, that budget's not necessarily the main thing that's on their mind. While they still have a budget, obviously, but it's flexible, obviously, and they don't have to go report to a bank. How the change orders occur in your world?
Yeah, do you mean it is the question in the context of like I'm actually building now?
Yes. Yeah? Now even architecture. I mean, I love when people come to me and they say, "Well, how can I save money?" I said, "Well, let's get a plan in place. And as long as you don't change a plan, my number I'm giving you is my number."
Yeah.
But you start changing things, and just really, and I said that really depends on when you ask me to. There's some things that in far in advance that no big deal, not going to cost you anything more. But there's sometimes, and I've heard the horror stories of my friend architect or contractors who's like, you did this, and they want to come in and just rip it out and start over, and they're happy to, but it costs money, and the guys are paying for it. Do you have a lot of those? Or do you kind of get all that stuff worked out in your goal, since you're the architect, try to get that worked out before you even turn it over to the even your own guys, your own contractor?
So do we have a lot of those? I think we probably I don't know if we average more or less than the overall industry, just as architects, but definitely the scenario you're painting happens almost no matter what. Because I just have, there's only a few clients that we've had in the last 15 years that seem to have an unlimited budget. And it's like a tech bro from Boulder, for example. One of our most high-end modern homes we're doing it for, only designed it, a different contractor built it. And we've talked to the contractor a lot and coordinated with them and asked them, like, has there been any pushback on all of these changes? They go, nope. It's just an open clock, but that's so rare, right?
Right. I would think so.
Yeah. And then there's another, so the tier below that is like, so that house is about a $6 million budget. I think it's at the beginning, I think it's going to end up ratcheting up to about 10 million when it's all said and done. It's almost wrapped up. And then there's a tier right underneath that we design for a lot. It's like between $2 and $4 million, these homes. And those people have hard stops and budgets. And we see a lot of change orders and changes that need to happen to get it back within reason after the rubber hits the road, just like you described, where it's like, here's the plans, here's my hard bid, if I was a different contractor looking,
Yep.
building these and then going, okay, but like you want to tamp this down by 5-10%. Here's our ideas for how to do it. Then we're all coordinating together to make that happen. The craziest thing about construction, I think, is that I find over and over and over again is whether we're building it or we're designing it is we can't predict what's underground no matter what. Like even if we did LiDAR scanning and
Right.
penetrated, and in
Mhm.
Colorado, believe it or not, on the Front Range, east of the mountains, the soil is actually super poor. It's very expansive. It's clay. It is awful. And so we get these soils reports. They're predicting as best as they can what's under the ground entirely, but they've only done a few samples. And I over and over and over again, as soon as we dig, there's the first change order because it's like, oh, couldn't have predicted that soil. Like in this certain area, we hit a big boulder. Now we got to get something out here to blast it.
Yeah.
And this morning, actually, after as soon as we're done with our interview here, Chris, I'm headed up to one of my job sites where we're building the house too that we designed. What did we hit yesterday? A whole pile of garbage for the septic where
Okay.
we're digging out the septic tank.
Yeah. Kind of like a landfill. Somebody covered it up and sold the
Railroad,
property.
yeah, railroad ties and all kinds,
Oh,
bikes,
everything. Oh, gosh.
everything. So it never ceases to amaze me, and that's what my business partners experiences too. It's like, and we so it's really what it's all about is expectations, I think, and like telling
Mhm.
the owner that, hey, I'm glad you hired us to also build your project. We think we've gotten rid of most change orders ahead of building, but we have to tell you that we're about to dig. You might see the first one, and there's absolutely no avoiding that unpredictability.
That's, and I think, well, I'm sure it's in any state. Now, most of Missouri is clay.
Mm,
It just it depends on what level of clay you get at. So up from like the middle of Missouri, if you know it, and up is more closer to the Kansas and Iowa type of landscape, and a lot of farm ground. From the middle of the state and down, you're in the Ozarks. So like in the Ozarks, you're going to hit rock. It's just a
mhm.
given. And the question, and then good topsoil, so much you can take topsoil off, get down to your clay. That's the only thing we have to build with. But then you got to fill to get it back up to the landscape where you wanted it to build a house. So all those in place.
Mhm.
I'm going to change gears just a little bit. And since you're an architect, which does affect the contractor in a sense, how involved are you getting like smart homes designed into it, or even solar for that matter?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the solar part of it.
Yeah.
Um, in in we have two offices. One is in Denver and one is in Boulder County. Yeah, it's in Longmont. And Boulder County is one of the bluest parts of anywhere in the United States at this point. And so their energy codes, just by proclivities of their political leanings, are very strict. I have designed and built two homes for my family in Boulder County. The first home that I designed and built with my wife and our four children was a 3,200 square foot, 7 bedroom, 5.5 bath. And I, in my architectural training, was very drawn to like passive house design. So where you're in our climate, it's like that means a lot of windows that are facing south,
Hmm.
some east and west, but almost none north because it's cold. And you're trying to
Right.
capture and deep overhangs. So you're blocking that summer sun, letting in the winter sun. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be able to cheat the system just by good design and not have to put solar panels on my house. Because what we experience here in Boulder County is something we have to meet this HERS rating, HERS, and you have to hit a certain score. And if you're above, I think what it used to be is like 42, then in order to get it down below that and obtain your building permit, you have to put solar on your house. You're mandated. Otherwise,
Get,
you're not be able to pull your
get the
permit.
HERS number.
Yep, to hit
Yep.
that HERS number exactly. So if you're building a new house in Boulder County, you better just plan on having to put solar panels on the roof. No ands, ifs, or buts. I had this discussion actually last night with that potential client. So and just again setting those expectations like that's where you're at. But then there's other folks who just opt for it, which is all good because
Yeah.
hey, I'm all about efficiency. I don't believe in this catastrophic idea that we're going to end the world with global warming and all that. I just
Sure.
think it's very far fetched that it's going to go completely bonkers. But I am a moral person, and I like to save money myself. So even my next house that
Sure.
I build in the county adjacent to Boulder County, I want it to be as net zero as possible. And there's a lot of folks too that are seeing like the chaos in the world that are coming to us now, and that's actually what's driving them more than anything is that they're like, I would like to be self-sufficient. So we're doing a lot of those kind of homes now that are almost
So
net zero.
if we're hit with the EMP and
Yeah.
knocks out a lot of things, you don't have to worry about your electricity going out.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier with well, some of the things you got to get permissions on, like the engineering stamps and so forth. It adds like 10% to your budget. The solar add to your budget, is that kind of expected?
To the design budget or the construction budget?
How the construction budget, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the what I was telling folk that gentleman last night was like, I'm like, you're probably going to have to add like a 3 or 4 kilowatt system at a minimum, and then right now the prices are usually about 10 or 12K for that, just as a starting point. It's sort of like and then it exponentially goes down the more you add. If you get up to like 10 kilowatts, well, then you're probably like around 20, and it like the ratio of the cost versus what you're putting up is a lot less. Home automation is something we always suggest to folks to couple with this, but usually that's one of the first things to get cut once they go, hey, I have a budget and we'll do it
Right.
later. Maybe we can pre-wire for it.
Mm. Well, that's the reason I'm asking is I'm thinking about my contractors who are trying to set themselves apart, and being solar is one of kind of like across the United States almost, and becoming more efficient and less costly. Um, but you did say something earlier about the solar in the design part. You have to design for the solar, don't you? To make it
Yeah.
look nice.
Kinda.
Yeah.
It's not here's the trickiest, the funniest thing is I think like I learned this sort of visual and architectural trick from
Yeah.
that house that I was citing, that first one I built for my family, is I wanted to do a flat roof because I just didn't I like the aesthetics of it, but the HOA documents
Flat roofs.
required that we had to do a 312 pitch
Okay.
minimum. That was the minimum we could do.
Huh.
And so because I increased the depth of the overhangs by so
Yeah.
much, it was like some of the deepest ones were 3 or 4 feet. When you were standing on the ground and looking up at this 2-story house, it was a sort of a visual trick where it looks you can't see that angle and it looks like a flat roof, but it's not. So what it taught me is I'm like, remember, I tell this to clients all the time. I go, or contractors or whatever, like, remember, we're not looking at the house from above. We're not birds.
Mhm.
Like, you're on the ground and you're going to see up. And a lot of times you just you lose all that. And you really don't even notice anything like that. Like, how often are you actually seeing those sort of things? It's hard for people to disassociate that and think abstractly, but that's really what it comes down to, I think.
Well, we don't have well, let's talk about construction. Do you have a lot of basements in Colorado?
Yes.
Do you? Okay. And typically on a two-story house, uh, it's hard to see the roof pitch anyway because you got such a tall unit.
Yeah.
Uh, Here in Missouri, we have a lot of ranches, and depending on where you're building, obviously, but the street appeal is very important based on your location.
One thing I will say though, where you
Mhm.
asked, are we designing? As there's the aesthetic part of it, but then there's the mechanical part of designing for
Yeah.
these solar home for these solar applications. It's been state law since 2012 in Colorado that you have to provide a chase to make the house solar ready in the future, even if you aren't mandated like in a place like Boulder County. So we're always planning for where that chase is, so you can run the cables down
Good deal.
and up and not have to fish through drywall and everything.
Are they putting the solar panels on the house or putting it next to the house? Because we have both here. You can have them mounted to your roof, or you have them a standalone system that's wired through the house. Or you do both?
Right. Most of it, I would say 98% of it is on the house at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked, I was talking about helping contractors niche down, be more specific. Is there anything else you guys do or would recommend to other contractors about how to either bring designing in, bring architects in, or set themselves apart across the United States that you guys seen advantages in? Like, would it be
Yeah.
advantageous to say, well, I'm going to set myself apart and bring an architect on as part of my team?
Yeah. I think contractors make the only mistake in that equation is if they're bringing architects in, is that if please don't hire the architect directly. Like the owner and the architect need to be hired directly. So the architect should be hired by the owner. The general contractor should be by the owner, but the general contractor really is making a mistake if they're hiring the architect. And actually, our insurance precludes us from ever hiring a GC. Like, I can't hire a general contractor as an architect. I would null and void all of my insurance. And the reason why is, and I've made this mistake now 2 times in my career. I made it last year, and I made it 10 years ago. And the mistake was I allowed myself and my firm to be hired by a general contractor. And there's a problem with that. And you end up getting treating like a sub. And the word, it's more than just a sub, it's like a subordinate. And you're not equal on the OAC triangle, owner, architect, contractor. You're not a team at that point. At that point, we're like sort of a whipping dog for the general contractor. And it's an uneven balance of opinion, power, dynamics, all of that good stuff. I think it's fantastic if a general contractor has the mental, if they have the emotional maturity, if they're not an insecure individual, to say, yeah, no, I'm going to bring in an architect. I am very copacetic to, though, I think this still lingers throughout the construction industry. The sort of like the idea from a lot of general contractors, like, architects don't know how things are built. You're right. Like, you're right, actually. Like, they're drawing it. It's lines on paper. And as soon as the lines on paper become reality, for some reason, the architects just aren't kind of completing that full circle, and they're making the general contractors' jobs difficult. But if you're a general contractor and you can develop that relationship with an architect who's willing to learn from you, and you're willing to learn from the architect, and you're willing to, one example would be like a general contractor that architects can teach general contractors is like, there's a story behind the design, and it's important that the story is continued, because design is special, and if we're building homes for people and they're forever homes, there's meaning behind it, and to try to carry that theme all the way through. Vice versa, architects, and this is how we do it, if architects are open to criticism from the general contractors in their drawings, for example, like even just as simple as like joist layouts. One of the lessons I've tried to pound into my architects' heads most recently, repound into their heads, is like, hey, you guys can't change the joist layouts on like a whole floor plan. Like, let's say it's a main floor plan here.
Right.
Because you know where I'm going with this is like,
oh yeah,
they're not going to change the direction of the sheathing. They're going to try to crank the sheathing out in one direction. That's how it works. That's how it should work. It's going to be stronger. It's better it's a cheaper way to do it, all that stuff. So because we do design plus build, then I am always bringing field lessons back to the architects and going, this is how we're improving our drawings based on how we're building. And that's why I wish a lot more architects would have the cojones to take the leap and start building at least a couple things that they design throughout their career, even if it's their own house, because there's something missing in that gap between both professions.
that makes a lot of sense. We've talked about some negative things. I want to talk about some positive things.
Okay.
What's kind of been the most rewarding project you've ever done?
Oh, wow. Strangely enough, the development. It was also the hardest thing I've ever done.
Development of a multi-family stuff, or
mixed use multifamily. Yeah. So our first design build project was a tiny house called A.A.S. Tiny House. We did it back in 2013, 2014. We did an episode with HGTV, season 1, episode 13, Tiny House, Big Living. Alex and Lance's tiny folding house. And we won an architecture award. It was cool.
Yeah.
We were on television every 2 weeks after that. for about 2 years. Our episode would air. Subaru saw it and reached out to us, and they wanted us to design and build 2 more, but they were bigger, badder, more foldable. Just they were brand new. It's like we did invent on a certain level, this foldable
The
tiny
tiny house.
house,
Yeah.
on wheels. I didn't want to build it because it was so hard to build the first one. You had to be so precise. And my business partner said, well, what if I tell them this number and they go for it? And I go, dude, if they go for that fee, my wife cannot talk me out of this. Like I will happily sleep on the couch for 3 months. So
It'd be worth it. Okay.
Yeah. So I did. I didn't sleep on the couch, but still,
Yeah, but
she didn't say no. But
they took it. So
they took it. Yeah, and we finally earned enough money from that job to where we were able to take the leap and buy a piece of land, raw land in North Longmont in northern Colorado. Is a third of an acre, and we ended up developing a 6-plex and a triplex, and 8 of those units are residential units, townhomes essentially. I live in one of them. We kept another one as a real estate investment, and then we built our office as the commercial unit. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. There was one moment where the plumber, we had a flood. We had an accident happen in one of the condos, and it was just a little loose fitting, and it popped out overnight, and the water was hot. Yeah, and that brought me and my business partner down to our knees. I mean, it literally cut us down, like tears and blood and the whole thing. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. We had to take out a hard money loan to finance it. We were up against the wall. But then we sold up. We sold off enough units to make our money back, have a little bit of change in our pocket. We obviously retained real estate. That's huge. Then COVID hit, and they printed all the money. Right, the feds printed all this money, and then real estate prices skyrocketed. And then we had a lot of equity all of a sudden, and that was cool. That was a surprise. And the other part is bringing clients into our space that we designed, built, and developed.
Yeah.
Suddenly it leveled us up to the point where it was like we had imposter syndrome for a long time, I think, as young guys with not a lot of built work, trying to get people to trust us with millions of dollars to design all of their things.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not. There's no imposter syndrome. We're the living, breathing, walking, talking it. And people just have the utmost confidence in us. Yeah, we don't even have to hardly sell our services. I mean, they just look around and they're like, well, yeah, you guys know, you guys built it all, you developed it, you designed it. Like, why would I even talk to another architect? Plus for fun. Plus we go fishing, stuff like that.
You go fishing, I know.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions now. Let's go. You said something I want to ask. So does your higher end clients, sometimes they're very, well, I don't mean this, but maybe all people, some people, they don't want to show their cards, basically, want to show who they built their stuff, or are very private. Are you allowed to show those houses on your say website or so forth, Facebook or whatever?
Yeah. Some don't let us do it.
Yeah.
Some don't let us do it once it's built, which is really disheartening. And some, it's like, how do you even force that clause? I'll tell you a quick story about this. This is a great question.
Yeah.
No one's ever asked me this question, Chris. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
In 2013, it was really tough environment between 2008 and 2013, right? We were just coming out of the Great Recession. Yeah.
Yep.
Awful. So for us to get commissions, it felt like a miracle every time. Well, one of the commissions we got to design is this. We're going to take down in the middle of Denver, like a little brick bungalow. And these folks worked at the Denver Art Museum, and they wanted a very mid-century, beautiful, modern home. It is a beautiful home. We designed it. We were so excited. We were like, finally, we've got some built work. We're going to get some great photographs. In our contract with them, we had the clause, and they signed it. We can take photographs, all that. We finish it, and we go, great. When can we come take photos? The husband wasn't. Nope, not doing it. You guys aren't taking photos. And we go, but it's right here. How do you can't enforce that, right? It's sort of this like handshake deal essentially on that part of it. I can't go into private property and do all of these things.
No.
So that's what's hilarious is I mentioned this other house in Boulder, this $6 to $10 million house, with this tech entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I had posted on LinkedIn in December at our Christmas. We have a Christmas party. We go look at projects. Our whole team was in front of it. And it was like a sort of a reflective post of like, man, from where we started to where we're at now, I'm just so thankful to God, thankful to everybody who's helping me, our whole team. And the wife of the husband who objected pipes up in the comments. Oh my God, I can't believe we got you guys to design our house way back in the day. And it's been 12 years and all this. And I go, I couldn't help it. I go, any chance your husband's changed his mind and we come photograph that house? Nope.
Okay.
It's like, all right. And so like I'm hoping at some point, those owners sell the house and I can talk to the new owners and be like, look, I have a story to tell you. Can just please, so.
I want to share this little nugget before we wrap up. I know a landscaper just started out. They didn't have enough money for his signs on his truck. And he got a very high end. I forget how he got him, but either he knew him or a friend of a family. Anyway, he got this high end landscaping business for this one particular home. And the homeowner loved it so much because he was very particular. He wanted anybody knowing who was doing his landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't. So the guy decided, well, I can't put signs on my. So he turned it around to his benefit and said, okay, basically talked to the guy about refer him on to other people like him. And he has his high end, and he just goes around his plain old truck, and he's got another one where he advertises his business. But when they go to this high end stuff, he's using the plain truck, nothing, no signs, no nothing, and getting a very good business out of that, just for word of mouth.
Wow.
So,
wow.
I do appreciate your time today, Lance. It's been a pleasure. Where I'm gonna put in the show notes, how would we get hold of you? Just if they have
Anybody?
questions or anything like that. I know you got a podcast, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. This has been fantastic. This is an 100% unique interview. Like I've never been asked any questions like you asked me, so I want to thank you too for having me on. It's been great. I would love to have you on the show, our show. So at some point, yeah. So I'll reach out. I'll reach out to you, and we can talk. We can talk shop. It'd be great. Podcast is called Inside the Firm Podcast. Business partner and I started it 7 years ago. We have over 700 episodes. It's our story of starting from nothing, being laid off from other business owners, architects who are really bad at business, and we're positive reactionaries to that, and trying to share and spread the message to my generation, millennial, Gen X, Gen Z, that like the American dream is still alive. I want as many entrepreneurs out there as possible with as much skin in the game as possible, because I think that's actually much better. It's a more effective way of changing society than voting even. People are just out there getting it, right? If you want to get in touch with me, go to LinkedIn, type in Lance, last name Cayko, Cayko. I will link in with anybody. And if you want to keep up on everything we're doing over at the company, go to f9productions.com, sign up for our newsletter, check us out.
Awesome. That information will be in the show notes. As always, my link will be in the show notes if you want to talk about this or anything else about getting out of that hard hat, back into CEO, stop swinging that hammer and pushing that broom. So there, and also Hard Hat CEO Facebook group. If you want some daily inspiration, go there. Lance, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we will see everybody again on the next episode of Hard Hat CEO.